is, the game was rigged from the start.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale. Today, I want to talk about rigged matchmaking and matchmaking in general. So have you ever been playing like a hog deck and gone up against like 3 or 4 opponents in a row running NATO, Tombstone, Bowler, and Max Elite Barbarians just to add insult to injury, right? So a bunch of counters to the deck you're playing and think to yourself, this is rigged. This might be rigged against me here. Well, today I want to get to the bottom of that. So in preparation for this video, I've dug through all the previous Supercell Q&As. I've dug through like hundreds of Reddit complaints of matchmaking being rigged. And I've also reached out to Supercell and had a conversation with two of the people, in the Supercell developer team to try to give more insight and clarity on how matchmaking really does and doesn't work. So with all that information, let's get right to it. Today's going to be a short video because there's not much to it here, but I do want to share all the information I was able to gather for you guys. So one final point before we get into this video is not meant to be a critique of how matchmaking really does work. So what I want to do is kind of cover the basics. What is a parameter of matchmaking for both challenges and ladder, and what's not to say, okay, it should be this or it shouldn't be that. That's another video for another day, just trying to get out the facts today. So let's start with ladder, okay? Let's start with what is not factored in to matchmaking. What is not an indicator in the matchmaking algorithm? Card levels, not an indicator. Card levels have no parameter on matchmaking on ladder. Personal best trophy counts, no parameters in matchmaking, not a non-factor. Cards that you're playing, non-factor. Cards your opponent, your theoretical opponent, is playing, non-factor. And king tower levels, non-factor. If you're always going up against people who are higher level than you, odds are you're probably a pretty good player. If you're always going up against people who are lower level than you, odds are you're probably not a very good player because of your trophy range. You're going against people who are higher skill with lower card levels and vice versa. Okay, so what are the factors in matchmaking? It's pretty easy. Current trophy level, where you are right now. Now, there's also 2 other special rules, loss streaks and top of ladder. Let's start with loss streaks. Players who are at 3 or more losses in a row are put into a separate matchmaking pool. Why do they do this? This is to prevent big, long, frustrating losing streaks. So what they do is they match losers against other losers. Forgive the phrase. I don't mean you're a loser in life, I mean you're on a losing streak. So these people in the losers pool play one another until they win, and then they get removed from the losers pool and put into the regular matchmaking pool, okay? Now, there is no winner pool, so this does not apply to win streaks. So you could feasibly go on like a 10 or 20 win streak, and you wouldn't be matched against players on other win streaks, with another caveat. In 2v2 matchmaking, you are somehow matched based on win streaks. That's why if you're like 60 or 70-0 and you go against other 2v2 people who are on a huge win streak, they're also going to be, well, obviously on that win streak, right? So, but for single matchmaking, there is no win streak matchmaking tweaks or algorithmic bias. Okay, so the other rule is the top of ladder. We talked about this probably like a year ago, but it's worth mentioning again because we are trying to do kind of an elaborate study of matchmaking here. And it's at the very top of ladder. People are placed, once they hit search for a battle, they're placed in kind of a waiting queue where everybody's shuffled up not based on the time that you press the button, and they're made to wait for a little bit of time. Maybe it's a few minutes. And then they're shuffled up and then they're rematched. Why does this happen? To prevent win trading and even sniping at the very top of ladder. It's not a perfect fix, but it works more often than it doesn't. So that is how you're matched in ladder, in arenas, right? Trophy pushing. Just on your current trophy level, your losing streak, and if you're on the top of ladder. That's it. Okay? How about we'll go to challenges? What is not factored in? Well, everything that we talked about before, card levels, what cards you're playing, what cards your opponent is playing, what decks you guys are running, that's not a factor. What is your current trophy level? Not a factor. What's your trophy best? Not a factor for challenges. Challenges are a little bit different, okay? What is factored in? So the first few games that you're playing in a grand challenge or a classic challenge, you're going to be in a pool of players based on your previous win percentage in other challenges on the history of your account. So what the heck does that mean? The first few games of a challenge, you are put in a pool with players who have a similar win percentage as you do in challenges. Why do they do that? That's to prevent people who aren't that great at the game or who are newer to the game or just, unskilled at the game from being incredibly frustrating in paying $1 or 100 gems or 10 gems or whatever, and then just losing all the time because they're getting matched up with people who regularly play grand or classic challenges and regularly do very well, okay? So the first few games are matched up against people of your same win percentage based on history. After that, after those first initial games of a grand or classic challenge, any victory challenge, you will be matched up against people who are on the same win number that you are. Okay, so if you're 8-2, you'll be matched up with other people with 8 wins. Now, they could be 8-0 or 8-1. The losses aren't factored in. There's no separate pools for all the 8-2 players and all the 8-1 players and all the 8-0 players. It's just based on wins until you get to the end of the challenge, around 9 or 10 wins, and that point, it's going to be a plus or minus 1 added into the equation. Now, what does that mean? It means basically if you're at 9 wins or 10 wins, you might be matched up against somebody who's at 9 or 11 wins, okay? So that's because there's a smaller pool of players who get that far into the challenge. So to keep the matchmaking times down, they give a little bit more flexibility to the range at the top of the challenge, at the end of the challenge, I should say. So that's basically it, guys. That's all the facts that you guys need to know about matchmaking. So to answer the question, is matchmaking rigged? I would say yes. Yes. I'm sure some of you guys didn't see that coming. Matchmaking is rigged to match you based on your current trophy level in ladder and your current win total in challenges. So it's rigged in a way that theoretically should benefit the majority. So when you think about it being rigged against card levels or rigged against counter decks, to me, you have to kind of invoke Occam's razor, which means that in a nutshell, the simplified definition of Occam's razor is the more simple the explanation, the more likely it is to be true. And for Supercell to go in and build up and devise an incredible algorithm where people are matched up based on counter cards, and this has to be updated every single balance cycle. Every single time a new card is introduced to the game, this would have to be updated. Every single time that the meta changes in any way, new counter cards will develop and they'd have to shift their whole algorithm. Now we know that Supercell has their hands full just balancing the cards that they do have. And it's a big challenge when a new card comes in. Oftentimes you see this with balance changes, that tweaking and balancing is really difficult in the game. Now, can you imagine them devising a huge plan? To what end is the question? To what end do they want you to be incredibly frustrated on ladder? And furthermore, how do they pick out the 50% of people that they want to give the hard counters to and the 50% of people who always get beneficial matchups because there's two sides of the equation? I didn't see one Reddit post of people complaining saying that, hey, I'm one of the 50% who always gets positive matchups. I'm always matched up where I have all the counters in hand. Long story short is that there's no real benefit for Supercell to make this big conspiracy match you up against hard counters kind of a game plan inside their algorithm or metric inside their algorithm, right? And it would require constant updating and fine-tuning to actually make it work. It doesn't make much sense. The only argument out there that I've seen, and this was a really thematic throughout all the complaints about rigged matchmaking, is they want us to spend more money. Listen, guys. If you played ladder for 2 days and you're not max, you'll already have that inclination to want to spend money. Some people, right? Because your card levels, you'll be matched up with people with higher card levels than you. Is matchmaking fair? No, it's not fair. It's not fair. But it's not rigged against your deck. It's not based on decks. ladder makes you want to spend money just fine on its own, and it frustrates people just fine all on its own due to that inequality and due to all the annoyances of ladder, overleveled cards, all that stuff that we already talk about here on CWA. So I don't think they added another mechanism to frustrate half of the players out there. So guys, that's my take on things. Again, is ladder perfect? No. Does ladder need a fix? Yes. But is ladder rigged against your deck, against you to find hard counters to your deck? The answer, in my opinion, is no. I know a lot of you guys will disagree with me. It's kind of like the conspiracy theorists. Some of them, they'll never listen. They'll never listen to the counter argument. It's just rigged and that's it, and I don't want to talk to you about it, Ash. But hey, you know, maybe I'm wrong. But that's from all the information I've gathered. That's going to be my conclusion. At the end of the day, just a game, and we can only take from it, hopefully, you know, what we can find to get a little bit of fun and enjoyment out of our days. So guys, that's going to be it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a quick one, kind of. No, actually, it wasn't that quick. I'm so long-winded. It's crazy. I could have said this in 3 or 4 minutes. Instead, it took me 11. Dang, Ash. Dang. Anyway, huge shout out to Bren Shong, my YouTube partner. You can check out his information in the description below. Make sure you check out Stats Royale for all the leading decks, high percentages, and guys, come back for a video tomorrow. I will see you then. Thanks for watching all the way till the end. Really appreciate it. And as always, take care, guys.